Maybe get a little closer. Never mind. Where's All right, I'm gonna read this book called On the Origin of the World. It is in the Nag Hammadi Library. It's in other collections of books, but that's the main source right there. So I'm gonna pull it up. It's not that long. I don't know if I'll finish it, but we'll see. So this one that I'm gonna read, the copyright was finished in 2003 by Willis Barnstone and Marvin Mayer. Just so if somebody wants to read the same one that I'm reading, that's this one. I probably never read this whole thing, but I may have. I think I did. If I didn't, I'm gonna try to do it tonight. But I know I read. Yeah, I should have read it before. So, here we go. It's my third time reading it, I think. I don't think I finished it the second time I was reading it, though. So it says, before the beginning, since everyone, the gods of the world and people says that nothing existed prior to chaos, I shall demonstrate that they are mistaken, since they do not know the origin of chaos and its root. Here is the demonstration. So I never noticed that until earlier when I was reading this. Whoever's gonna write this or did write it, they're gonna demonstrate what they're talking about. So that beginning is already problematic for me. And then it says, how agreeable it is to all people to say that chaos is darkness, but actually chaos comes from a shadow that has been called darkness. The shadow comes from something existing from the beginning. So it is obvious that something in the beginning existed before chaos came into being, and that chaos came after what was in the beginning.
Go to sleep.
Now let us consider the facts of the matter, and in particular, what was in the beginning from which chaos came. In this way, the truth will be clearly demonstrated. Both birth of Sophia. Okay, headings, got it. So then he goes on to say, after the nature of the immortals. Let me get something to drink real quick. After the nature of the immortals was completed out of the infinite one, then a likeness called Sophia flowed out of Pistis with the wish that something should come into being like that, or like the light that first existed. Immediately her wish appeared as a heavenly likeness with an incomprehensible greatness. This came between the immortals and those who came into being after them. And I'm not sure what they're talking about. Then it says, like what is above, it was a veil separating people from the things above. I don't even know if people was alive yet, so I don't know about that. But then it says, now the eternal realm of truth has no shadow within it, because the immeasurable light is everywhere within it. Outside it, however, is a shadow, and it was called darkness. From it appeared a power over the darkness, and the powers that came into being afterward, called the shadow, the limitless chaos. From it, every kind of deity was brought forth, one after another, along with the whole place. Consequently, the shadow too is subsequent to what was in the beginning. The shadow appeared in the abyss, which was derived from Pistis, whom we have mentioned. The shadow perceived the shadow perceived that there was one stronger than it. It was jealous. Ah, I need to take note of this part. The shadow perceived that there was one stronger than it. It was jealous. And when it became impregnated, it immediately bore envy. Since that day, the principle of envy has appeared in all of the eons and their worlds, but envy was not found to be an aborted fetus without any spirit in it. It became like the shadows in a great watery substance. Then the bitter wrath that came into being from the shadow was cast into a region of chaos. Since that day, a watery substance has appeared. What was enclosed in the shadow flowed forth. Appearing in chaos, appearing in chaos, just as all the useless afterbirth of one who bears a little child falls, likewise the matter that came into being from the shadow was cast aside. Matter did not come out of chaos, but it was chaos existing in a part of it. Now, after these things happened, Pistis came and appeared over the matter of chaos. Okay. Then it says, which was cast off like an aborted fetus, since there was no spirit in it, for all of that is a boundless darkness, and water of unfathomable depth. And when Pistis saw what came into being from her deficiency, she was distributed from her deficiency. She was distributed, and the disturbance appeared as something frightful, and it fled to her in the chaos. She turned to it and breathed into his face in the abyss, which is beneath all of the heavens. Now, when Pistis Sophia wanted to cause the thing that had no spirit to be formed into a likeness and rule over matter and over all its powers, a ruler first appeared out of the waters, lion-like in appearance. Let me highlight that. I don't remember this. Let's just go with, yep, lion-like in appearance, androgynous, with great authority within himself, but ignorant of whence he came into being. When Pistis Sophia saw him moving in the depth of the waters, she said to him, "Youth, pass over here," which is interpreted as Yada by oath. Oh, got it. So let me highlight all of that. I don't want to spoil it for people, but just remember that name. Since that day, the first principle of the word that referred to the gods and angels and people has appeared, and the gods and angels and people constitute that which came into being by means of the word. Moreover, okay, so it's still talking about they came through the word. That's cool. All right. And then it says, moreover, the ruler Yaldabaoth is ignorant of the power of Pistis. He did not see her face, but he saw in the water the likeness that spoke with him. Okay. Interesting. Never heard anybody say that. So I'm going to read that and keep going. Moreover, the ruler Yaldabaoth is ignorant of the power of Pistis. He did not see her face, but he saw in the water the likeness that spoke with him. In the water. I wonder if they were referring to the spirit in Genesis, but I don't know. Then it says, but he saw in the water the likeness that spoke with him, and from that voice he called himself Yaldabaoth. So wait a minute. Mm-mm. But the perfect ones call him Ariel because he was like a lion. And after he came to possess authority over matter, Pistis Sophia withdrew up to her light. When the ruler saw his greatness, he saw only himself. He saw nothing else except water and darkness. Then he thought then he thought he alone existed. Something's missing in this one. I'll just note it in case I listen to this again. It was supposed to mention a part where he was, how did it say? He was blinded and couldn't see on all sides. It didn't say that in this one. But it goes on to say, then he thought that he alone existed. His thought, yeah. See, this one kind of goes against their argument, some people. But then it says, his thought was made complete by means of the word. And it appeared as a spirit moving to and fro over the waters. Ah, interesting. I mean, if this book ain't helpful for much else, that was helpful. That was good. And when that spirit appeared, the ruler separated the watery substance to one region and the dry substance to another region. From matter, he created a dwelling place for himself and called it heaven. And from matter, the ruler created a footstool and called it earth. Afterward, the ruler thought according to its nature, and he created on a dragonus. I hope I said that right. Being by means of the word, he opened his mouth and called to him with his when his eyes were opened. He saw his father and said to him, E. So his father called him Yao. Again, he created the second son and called to him. He opened his eyes and said to his father, E. So his father called him Eloah. Again, he created the third son and called to him. He opened his eyes and said to his father, As. So his father called him Astataphios. These are the three sons of their father. Then it says, 7 appeared in chaos as androgynous beings. They have their masculine name and their feminine name. The feminine name of Yaldabaoth is Forethought. Sambathis, which is the weak. His son is called Yao, and his feminine name is Lordship. Sabaoth's feminine name is Divinity. Adonios' feminine name is Kingship. Eloah's feminine name is Envy. Orio's feminine name is Wealth. Astaphios' feminine name is Sophia. These are the seven powers of the seven heavens of chaos, and they came into being as androgynous beings according to the immortal pattern that existed before them, and in accord with the will of Pistis, so that the likeness of what existed from the first might rule until the end. You will find the function of these names and the power of the males in the archaic book of Moses, the prophet. You will find these functions. So you will find the function of these names and power of the males in the archaic book of Moses, the prophet. I don't know about that. That's an iffy one right there. But the feminine names are in the first book of. Yeah, I never heard of that one. Okay. That's something to look for. I'll make that pink. I forgot to look. Okay, cool. Now, since the chief creator, Yaldabaoth, had great authority, he created for each of his sons, by means of the word, beautiful heavens as dwelling places, and for each heaven great glories, 7 times exquisite. Each one has within his heaven thrones, dwelling places and temples, as well as chariots and spiritual virgins, and their glories looking up to an invisible realm, and also armies of divine, lordly, angelic, and archaic. I don't think I said that right. Archangelic. There we go. Powers, myriads without number, in order to serve. The report concerning these you will find accurately in the first account of how do you say this? Noria. Now they were completed in this way up to the sixth heaven, the one belonging to Sophia, and the heaven and its earth. Let me make that a little bit bigger. That is super big. So, and the heaven and its earth were disrupted by the troublemaker who was beneath all of them. The 6 heavens trembled, for the powers of chaos knew who it was who disturbed the heaven beneath them. And when Pistis knew of the harm caused by the troublemaker, she blew her breath, and she bound him and cast him down to Tartarus. Yeah, see, this one isn't making sense. According to this, pistis is over the Most High. Since that day, the heaven has been consolidated along with its earth by means of Sophia, the daughter of Yahweh, who is beneath them all. After the heavens and their powers and all of their government set themselves aright, the chief creator exalted himself and was glorified by the whole army of angels. And all the gods and their angels gave him praise and glory. And he rejoiced in his heart, and he boasted continually, saying to them, I do not need anything. I am God, and there is no other God but me. But when he said these things, he sinned against all of the immortal, imperishable. Interesting. This is a first. So when he said, I am God, and there is none but me, this claims he sinned against all the immortal, imperishable ones, and they kept their eyes on him. Huh. Can I put a note with that? Add comment. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to highlight down there. Moreover, when Pistis saw the impiety of the chief ruler, she was angry without being seen. She said, You are wrong, Samael. That is blind God. Okay, so Pistis called Most High. In this book, according to this book, Samael. Interesting. Just gonna make that yellow. I should have highlighted this too. Okay. Then it says, an enlightened, immortal human. Huh? An enlightened, immortal human exists before you, and you will appear within your fashioned bodies. The human will trample on you as potter's clay is trampled, and you will go with those who are yours down to your mother, the abyss. For in the consummation of your works, all of the deficiency that appeared in the truth will be dissolved. It will cease, and it will be like something that never existed. Okay. After Pistis said these things, she revealed the likeness of her greatness in the waters. And so she withdrew up to her light. When Sabaoth, the son of Yaldabaoth, heard the voice of Pistis, he worshipped her. He condemned his father and mother on account of the word of Pistis. He glorified her because she informed them of an immortal human and the light of the human. Then Pistis Sophia stretched forth her finger and poured on him the light, light from her, light for a condemnation of his father. When Sabaoth received light, yeah, see that ain't making sense right there. But we'll keep going. When Sabaoth received light, he received great authority against all of the powers of chaos. Since that day, he has been called the Lord of Powers, of the powers. He hated his father, the darkness, and his mother, the abyss. He loathed his sister, the thought of the chief creator, the one who moves to and fro over the water. On account of his light, all of the authorities of chaos were jealous of him. And when they were disturbed, they made a great war in the seven heavens. Then when Pistis Sophia saw the war, she sent 7 archangels from her light to Sabaoth. They snatched him away up to the 7th heaven. They, yeah, see, that ain't making sense either. Because if I'm right, according to this book, the Most High is in the 7th heaven. So why would they take him up to the 7th heaven? Why not take him up to where they are? But yeah. Okay. For they took their stand before him as servants. Furthermore, she sent him 3 other archangels and established the kingdom for him above everyone so that he might dwell above the 12 gods of chaos. When Sabaoth received a place of rest because of his repentance, what repentance? And then it says, Pistis also gave him her daughter Zoe with great authority, so that she might inform him about everything that exists in the 8th heaven. Okay. And since he had authority, he first created a dwelling place for himself. It is huge, magnificent, 7 times as great as all those that exist in the 7 heavens. Then, in front of his dwelling place, he created a great throne on a chariot with 4 faces, called cherubim. And the cherubim throne has 8 shapes on each side of the 4 corners, forms of lions and bulls and humans and eagles, so that all of the forms total 64 forms. And 7 archangels stand before him. He is the 8th, having authority. All of the forms total 72. Okay, so right about here it gets to the point where I don't want to read it anymore. It's very, very weird and different. And I don't even know how far I got to go, but let me mark where I am. Whoever's with me and heard some of this or have read it can comment about what you think about it. But I'm going to mark where I am in case I do stop here or keep going. I just want to know. Add a comment. We'll add a comment. Right? It gets weird and makes not read it. anymore. Here. I'm gonna just make a note so I'll know where I was at. Now let me just see how much is left to read. Tell me what page. Okay, yeah, that was page 12, I think. Yeah, there's 44 pages. I didn't even get half. Jeez. No, I thought I could finish the whole thing. I wonder what else does it say? Because surprisingly, some of the stuff I read, the person who was teaching this doctrine about this, she didn't say that. So I guess I'll figure out why I'm reading this anyway. Excuse me. So I don't know if I'm officially done reading it, but at 1:13 a.m. I'm going to start explaining why I'm even reading it. So in the description of the video, it should say something like a dangerous doctrine from this book. To some, it's not dangerous. To some, it is accurate. To some, it is truth. The problem with this book is that it doesn't make sense in a lot of areas. It speaks about, before I even tell you what it speaks about, let me elaborate before I go into that. So I read this book before, but I don't know if I read the whole thing. I may have. And I remember I was reading The Shepherd of Hermas online on, what was I live on? I was on TikTok, yeah. I was reading it one day on my break, and somebody was like, hey man, you should read On the Origin of the World, because he was saying that I used to be a Christian. I used to believe, and he was saying that the God of that book wasn't the highest God. He was created, and they call him Yaldabaoth in the origin of the world. I was like, okay. So I went to check it out. I was reading it, and it was boring to me. So I'm like, I don't want to keep reading it. So I went back to The Shepherd of Hermas. I didn't even get to the part where he was talking about, because it was so boring. So I'm like, you know what? Something told me to go back. So I'm like, I'm going to go back and read a little bit more. So I went back, and then I ended up reading where it got to the part where it was talking about Yaldabaoth and how he was the God that created the heavens, the earth, the seas, and all that's in them and stuff like that. It didn't say it word for word like that, but it definitely described him, so it was undeniable which God they was talking about. But it was saying some stuff that I didn't remember the first time I read it, or however many times I attempted to read it before. I never caught it until that day. Maybe that was the furthest I've ever gotten in that book. Maybe I've always seen it and just never read that book. But I saw what he was talking about, and then I had to ask myself the question, is it true? And I thought about it for about a week. And then the more and more I thought about it, little guy, put that bottle down. The more and more I thought about it, get your butt up here and put that bottle down. Good. The more and more I thought about it, it didn't make sense. The more and more I asked questions, the more and more it didn't make sense. So then I had to kick it to the curb and stick with what I already knew to be true and safe and, all that. But of course, I was open-minded and willing to be proven wrong, but the evidence just didn't, it wasn't there. There's nothing to really stick with. This was the only book that says what it says. There's no cross references, there's no second or third witness. It's just that. And the dangerous doctrine came not long after. So within the same month that this encounter happened, and my ex-girlfriend out of nowhere comes and sends me this video from TikTok, and it's a lady. She's claiming that the God who created Adam, the heavens and the earth, is evil. He's not the highest God. He's not the true God. And it was two creations in Genesis. And then she was saying some other stuff that was incorrect too. And she said, "What do you think about this video?" I mean, I said, it is true that there is a writing out there that says some of those things that she said. I read it. I think you should read it yourself. But some of the things that she said is not true. So I couldn't say everything was false. Couldn't say everything was true either. But it is definitely a dangerous doctrine, because her doctrine is that who some biblical spiritual books claim is the Most High, the highest God, the only God, is not the highest or the only God. And the doctrine of that is dangerous, because the support and truths or evidence for that is very slim. So slim that if you try to run with it, it just seems to start to fall apart more and more and more. The more and more you think about it. But I guess this will deceive people who don't study a lot, who only, I guess, play around with their salvation and reading and studying the word and trying to get to know God. I guess if you play around, if you're not trying to truly become an elect and do your part, you can fall for this type of doctrine. Somebody has already fallen for it. So anyway, I wanted to read this entirely. I wanted to do a live conversation about it. I didn't finish this book like I thought I would tonight. And I don't think I'm going to. I really don't care to. But some of the things this book talks about is, it's weird. It's weird. It's different. It's not like, let's start with that too. We'll make some distinctions between this writing versus all other biblical spiritual writings that I've read that's positive and that can help me in my walk with God. You know, stuff in that category. How is it different from any of those? Let me get a drink real quick. All right. For one, when I read it, I don't know how long I was reading, maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. I have to look at the time. But I read it for a decent amount of time. I didn't feel any increase in spirit. I didn't feel any better. I didn't feel more positive. I didn't get the spirit reading it. I didn't notice. Well, did I notice anything important? Not enough. I mean, there was some stuff in there that could benefit people in on their walk with God. Like it did describe things about God and Christ that was pretty good, but that was about it. Other than that, it's like very non-beneficial for me at all. Like if I never had to read this book again, I'd be fine with that. It doesn't benefit me that much or hardly at all. So it's not spiritually beneficial for me. It doesn't feed me spiritually. And if it doesn't feed me spiritually, then that's how you can tell the difference between a book that's important. Like example, like if I read the book of Enoch or anything in the Old Testament, New Testament, Apocrypha, the Didache, the Shepherd of Hermas, some of these biblical spiritual books, I'll feel better. I'll learn things. I'll feel more wiser. I'll feel like what I'm reading is important. Stuff will stand out. This, it got to a point where I might have said over and over and over that don't make sense. Then I get to a point where I don't want to read it anymore. It didn't get better and better. Like the Book of Enoch, when you read it, it gets better and better, especially towards the end. The Bible is the same way with certain books. This wasn't like that. So, also, can it help me on my walk with God? Overall, no. The only thing I can think of is the beneficial quote about Jesus and God, how it explains how they are one. That's it. It did a really good job at that. But do I really need it for that? I could have probably figured that out without this. But it just worded it in such a way that made it unique. But yeah, it ain't worth keeping it over that though. So yeah, that's my opinion about it. It just ain't worth reading. So the doctrine it will be out there, the false doctrine. But it's just it's gonna be some people or a portion of people is gonna get deceived by it due to what the scriptures say in Matthew 24. Let's see if I can find it. Matthew 24.
Right.
In Matthew 24.
They ready.
Where are they? Where are they?
At Brenda's
Where's that?
emergency room. At Baptist. You know, they got the
Okay.
yeah, they at the children. As
Okay.
soon as you turn in, you see Brenda's right there.
Brenda's. That didn't work. It's looking for Brenda's got a baby. I'll find it.
Yeah. It's right there. You know, like when you go into the emergency room at Baptist, it's right. You turn right there, the same area. No more water. You got a little problem.
So the hospital is called. Didn't they change the name to Novant or something?
Brandon BRENN.
But what I'm saying is, didn't that hospital get changed from Baptist to?
No, yeah.
Because it didn't it become Wake Forest and then it became Novant.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Okay.
Lay down.
So I'll just go to Novant and I'll find it because I was trying to type in Brenda and Novant Health is easier.
Okay.
All right, Mom.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. But Matthew 24:24 says about false prophets and messiahs who will perform signs and wonders to mislead even the chosen ones, emphasizing the need. Is that the actual scripture there? Or is that what they're saying about it? I think this is the scripture here. Jesus warns his followers
This the
that
name.
false Christ and false prophets will arise. Okay. Will arise and show great signs and wonders so as to deceive. Yeah, this is the one I'm familiar with. If possible, even the elect. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, but the way it works is they won't be able to deceive the elect. So if you become elect, you won't be deceived. Of course, based on that, some can be deceived. Okay. Kiwi? I don't think I'm saying your name right. Oh, I didn't see that until like just now. Qlee70. But you probably gone now. Qlee says who is the author? I'll probably have to reply to you after the video in the comment because you might be gone. The Nag Comedy Library on the Origin of the World, translated by Willis Barnstone and Marvin Mayer. It was finished in 2003. The one that I'm reading from. I need to read from another one too. I meant to do that, but I gotta go now. So look, I lay your big head down. Well, Qlee, I'll talk to you. I don't know if it's Qlee or Haley. But I'll try to message you that because I think you're gone. Qlee.